Hello, I'm Peter Junho Sang, founder and CEO of Beyond Form. In previous episodes, we discussed how traditional fashion designers upskill to 3D creation and what that journey may look like. But what about everyday customers wanting to try out digital fashion creation without having to learn technical software? In this episode, we talked to Charles Wilders, founder of OuttaWRLD, and how he is democratizing digital fashion with his creation platform. Imagine creating your own virtual outfit in a matter of minutes for the world to appreciate on social media. This is OuttaWRLD. Now, I may be a little bit biased since OuttaWRLD is a Beyond Form startup. However, I've been following Charles and the team for the past 6 months, and I am personally extremely excited by the possibilities that the platform presents for everyone to enjoy. From ready-made outfits to visually exciting skins, textures, and transitions, creative is the feeling that should be conjured up when designing on OuttaWRLD. And all of this done in real-time augmented reality.
The problem that the industry faces a lot at the moment is that it's very disconnected. So people will be creating digital fashion on platforms like Clo3D or Marvelous Designer. But once they've created their digital fashion, there's not much utility because you have to then go through a lot of steps to actually put it in a virtual world or in our case, in augmented reality.
OuttaWRLD is available to download on the App Store on your iOS or Android device. Side note for our regular listeners, my co-host Bon has moved on from Beyond Form to new adventures, so I'll be your sole host moving forward. I want to wish Bon good luck in her next chapter. I hope you enjoy listening to this episode with Charles. Do you want to just say hi to everybody, Charles?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Charles, the founder of OuttaWRLD. We are a 360-degree digital fashion app enabling real-time digital fashion creation in AR. So it's really exciting to be here, and thank you for the opportunity, Peter.
Can't wait to get stuck in. So just before we get into the conversation, just a quick summary of actually what's happening in the digital fashion space recently. So let's start with the Metaverse Fashion Week 2023 that happened at the end of March. A lot of press around this in regards to visitors and numbers, and how actually it was a lot lower than the previous year. However, there were still brands actually creating spaces in the world itself. In particular, Tommy Hilfiger did a great campaign, bringing in various players into their space, including Ready Player Me, Dress X, and so forth. So the usual culprits in the digital fashion space. Tommy Hilfiger, as a response to the low numbers, did actually say they still do believe in digital fashion and the metaverse, and this is only the start. So it'd be great to hear your thoughts a little bit later on that, Charles. Recently this week as well, in their Snapchat Partner Summit, they actually announced that they're going to be delivering AR mirrors as a B2B experience that other people can actually purchase as well. And as you can imagine, the customer or the user stands in front of the AR mirror, and the garment or the accessory in digital fashion form will be then obviously projected onto the customers. So I think it's going to be interesting what this does do for the space, and specifically with a giant like Snapchat actually heavily investing in hardware as well as the software to roll out internationally. Another great initiative coming from the Middle East is the Shalhoub Group, launching their own NFT and digital sneaker brand called Soulmates. So I think it's interesting how a luxury group, which happens to be the biggest luxury group in the Middle East area, is launching their private label project. So I've actually been part of their launch campaign in their Discord channels and their WhatsApp groups. And all I can say, they've actually managed to get a good community going. Whether they can amplify this beyond that, I think it will be interesting. So that's just been happening in the months of March and April. And then, of course, we have the OuttaWRLD app launching as well this month. So no further ado, Charles, so you don't actually come from the design or fashion space. So how did you actually get into digital fashion?
Yeah, sure. Everyone seems to ask this. So I think digital fashion is just incredibly cool. And I really do believe it's the future. And it was when I first saw the meta jackets being sold by Artifact that I first really had my taste of digital fashion. I was blown away by, first of all, the price that they were selling for, but also just how cool they were, because they were presenting something that I hadn't seen before. And I thought this was really cool. And then this was closely followed by the sale of the Fabricant's iridescent dress, which I also thought was really an amazing thing. It looked very beautiful, and the fact it was merging physical and digital, I thought was really, really exciting. So when they presented it, actually, it was with a picture of someone actually wearing it in real life. So this was kind of like my first taste of how, wow, digital fashion isn't just something that's going to be strictly for the digitally native world, but it also can intersect real life. So that was really amazing. And I'd always been a user of Google's Tilt Brush to do some creative projects. So I knew that creating could be just as fun as the end product, which you actually end up with. And when I went to create my own digital fashion, I found a lot of the solutions quite laborious, steep technical learning curves, and pretty difficult to use in general. So this really inspired me to set out on a mission to not only be able to wear and share digital fashion in AR, but also to create it in augmented reality, which I think is a really, really exciting thing. And so that's what we've been working towards now.
And what does it feel like being an outsider of the space itself?
It definitely does come with its limitations, because obviously we live in a world where you do get judged online, I guess. So, like, first of all, how many followers, how much influence you have within the space. So there is a slight barrier, which we've been working hard to, overcome. But at the same time, I think everyone in the space is incredibly supportive. And I've really found that, people in the digital fashion space really all come from the same perspective, that we are doing something quite special. This is really a revolution. There is the potential here to democratize the fashion industry. And so as a result, there is kind of like a real collaborative ethos and vibe and feeling with it. And particularly when I reach out to people, there's always a positive response, and everyone, it seems, is trying to help out one another, which I think is really great, because it will really propel the space forward faster and in a more of an efficient way.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, for those of you that are listening, OuttaWRLD is part of the Beyond Form portfolio. So I've actually worked with Charles since last autumn, and you have been growing quite a lot, quite quickly. So I think it's just amazing just to see kind of like how you've been going on that journey. I've been in the industry for quite a while now, so I know how difficult it can be to break into the industry. I even get somebody to speak to you in the fashion space, and it is not an easy task. Definitely. So you explained kind of like at the start the kind of what is OuttaWRLD in a strapline, but could you just dive a little bit deeper actually what that means and what it is, OuttaWRLD?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So our big mission and energy and vibe is basically to empower people to create digital fashion in augmented reality. So essentially what this means at the moment in our current build is we present the user with almost like a toy box of design options, and they can then assemble these design options a bit like Lego blocks to create a completed outfit or digital fashion filter. They can then wear this filter as we use body motion tracking in the app. So it covers the whole body, and they can record a photo and video, which they can then share to social media. So at the moment, that's the user journey. So it's really exciting, and we believe that's kind of like the core functionality that we are aiming for. But obviously, there's a huge amount that we can do, and we are looking at and planning to incorporate into the app. We're called OuttaWRLD because we really do believe that digital fashion is going to enable people to have their own world, their own digital fashion spaces, where they can sort of display items they own, where they can engage with other users, trading digital assets in a really seamless and interactive way. All of these things are to come. But for now, we really are focusing on allowing people to create their own digital fashion assets in augmented reality. And this comes with a lot of benefits. The main thing is that it's really immersive. and it's really, really fun. So I think digital fashion, for it to penetrate the mainstream, it has to be super accessible and it has to be presenting something new. And creating digital fashion filters and AR definitely does cover these areas. So yeah, it's very much an exciting time. It is early. We are very early, and we're looking to incorporate lots of new features and functionality. But for now, it's definitely a great start, and the feedback we've had has been fantastic. So yeah, onwards and upwards.
So essentially, if I get this right, literally anyone now can create their own digital fashion.
That's right. Yeah. We really are aiming to make it that easy and accessible, whether you're 6 or 60, or even older, not being
Or
ageist.
even older, yeah, we can't exclude everyone, being literally everyone.
Literally everyone. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you look at other industries like content creation with platforms like YouTube, or music creation with platforms like SoundCloud, these companies, these platforms were able to democratize their respective industries because they made it easy and simple for people to create a video, to create a song, and there's so many other examples, like to create your own subscription service on Patreon, to create your own blog on Medium, whatever it might be. We've seen it already happen in so many different industries, empowering the average person with the tools to create is really scalable, really powerful, and yeah, it's really exciting.
So obviously we spoke about in my introduction, Snapchat and AR mirrors. OuttaWRLD has also followed the suit as well in terms of creating in AR. Why do you think digital fashion creation in AR is a good move, and what opportunities does it actually present?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So it makes sense because everything is optimized for AR. You're creating an AR, you're wearing an AR, and then you can record the photos and videos with an augmented reality filter. So it's very much optimized and a very, very seamless user journey. The problem that the industry faces a lot at the moment is that it's very disconnected. So people will be creating digital fashion on platforms like Clo3D or Marvelous Designer. But once they've created their digital fashion, there's not much utility because you have to then go through a lot of steps to actually put it in a virtual world, or in our case, in augmented reality. So the fact that the user in our app can create the digital fashion filter, as well as also wear and share it, all in the same format, all in augmented reality, which in our opinion is the optimal format for digital fashion, it makes things that much easier. So that really is kind of the whole point, is that we're providing the user with extreme utility when it comes to the augmented reality format. And then I guess the other thing is the fact that the user is in a really immersive environment. Augmented reality is really exciting. It's really cool. Only yesterday, I had one of our early users send me a video of them on the beach, walking along the seaside and displaying digital fashion over the sea. And it was really quite a beautiful video that she sent. And it just goes to show, like, overlaying digital things onto our physical real life existence is really exciting. It's really cool. You mentioned the metaverse, Peter, and how we've just had the metaverse digital fashion week. I think virtual reality and the metaverse will come and have its place, and its time. But I really think that the world we live in is so beautiful. There's so much beauty around us, and to overlay awesome digital things onto that is really potent, as opposed to sort of being isolated in a completely virtual environment. Combining physical and real life with digital and digital overlays and augmented reality, I think is really the most special, in my opinion, and
Absolutely.
in our users' opinion.
So we're getting a bit philosophical there. We're talking about nature and planet Earth and beauty. Obviously, a lot of people do choose to not be in, around their surroundings. And obviously, we're not there yet with layering digital on top of the built environment around us. But do you think we are going to be reaching that stage at some point as a civilization?
Yeah, absolutely. It has so many benefits and so many advantages. Actually, in many areas, we've already seen layering um, augmented reality uh, elements. For example, in sport, for a long time, if you watch Wimbledon, for example, they will display augmented reality by showing the user information which makes viewing the tennis match more engaging. The same in golf, the same in cricket, the same in rugby, for example, the trajectory of the ball, so that people can see more clearly what is happening. Um, and also, we're seeing augmented reality being a lot used now in education as well, and particularly providing training to people in different industries. Um, so, augmented reality really does have so much utility. It's not just digital fashion; it can be used for so many different things. From our perspective, we're coming from the point of view that layering over the augmented reality experience really does harness and really does enhance our experience as humans on planet Earth. I think one of technology's drawbacks is actually that it distracts from real life, particularly with Gen Z and millennials. Actually, it's a concern of parents, how much screen time their children are spending on iPhones and iPads and this type of thing. And I think there's a danger with virtual worlds that actually people start to prioritize their virtual experiences, their virtual lives more than actually their real life. And I think that really is quite dangerous. So augmented reality, in a sense, is actually a safer format for the use of technology because it's always attached to real life in some way. And I think that's important.
Yeah. And then obviously you've spoken several times already about how OuttaWRLD is building something so that anyone can design digital fashion. Why is
Mm.
democratizing digital design actually important?
Sure. So I think I read a quote from the most recent Roblox report last year, which said the next Coco Chanel is going to be a 10-year-old designing skins on some platform. I can't remember exactly which one it is. And so I think what we can draw from that, the first thing is that creation is open to anyone. Anyone can create, whether you are a 10-year-old or whether you're slightly older, whether you're technical or non-technical. It doesn't matter about your background. It doesn't matter about your experience. Anyone will be able to create if it's digital, which I think is really exciting. Because to create real fashion, it takes training. It takes often a degree to really learn how to create a fashion garment, and it's very specialized. And then that's before the limitations of logistics, production costs, manufacturing. It's not easy, but with digital, everything can be easy if the tools are there in place for people to use. And that's really where we're coming from. And I think that relates to me as well, someone who doesn't come from a very official fashion background or a very official technology background. My mindset is coming from the average person's mindset of, if you're a normal person, you don't have previous experience creating fashion, you're not that technical, but you're interested in it, but you are interested in creating. Everyone has their own style, their own feeling, their own attitude towards fashion, because we all have to wear clothes. Then empowering those people to create and decide what they want their digital identity, their digital fashion to be, I think is really, really special.
Absolutely. And I think, you mentioned Roblox there. I always just think, how my 10-year-old cousin is like continuously on Roblox, actually. And for them now, it's just a really natural part of their life. I don't know
Yeah.
about you, Charles, but obviously when I was growing up, I didn't have an iPad or Roblox in my hands. Now
Mm.
for them, it's kind of like, second nature to them. So I think
Yeah.
what you're talking about is like this is the next stage for those digitally native babies, shall we
hmm
say.
hmm
Um, yeah, so in terms of the digital fashion in the metaverse space, in an NFT space, where do you think all of that is heading and how does digital fashion specifically play into all of that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that the point on NFTs is quite interesting. I think it's lost a little bit of its shine
Yeah.
since it first came about, and I think the key point there is utility. I think NFTs are or blockchain technology. It's an encryption method. It's not a business model, and therefore it has to be added on or interjected into a project that already is providing value in some way, and then it can harness that value. It can enhance the value. So I definitely think NFTs are going to be incredibly useful with digital assets, but only if the digital assets intrinsically have utility within themselves. Um, I think the problem with the NFT space, right, was that people were creating images or whatever it was, JPEGs, and then basically adding, some pie in the sky value, and it all came tumbling down a little bit quickly because the underlying utility or actual, the worth of that thing was determined by people, not actually within the digital asset itself. So I think when digital fashion really can be used, it can be worn, it can be shared, you can create videos with it, you can trade it. I think then if it's an NFT, that's really, really going to be a very important factor because it can then be traced, it's verifiable, you know where it's from, you can check when it was bought, you can see who's previously owned it, like secondary markets, resale markets. That's going to be really important. But for now, we have to lay the foundations and the framework for that utility to be there, so that we can layer on the NFT aspect. And then the metaverse, I think, is really interesting. I think it's still emerging. I don't think there's been. I think it's a little bit all over the place still, from what I see, and I still don't see the value from my perspective and from OuttaWRLD's perspective. We don't see the value that much. We think it's a little bit overhyped still because, as you mentioned, with the declining attendance of the most recent Digital Fashion Metaverse Week, why is that? Well, what's there for people to do? Why are they going to visit this digital store? They'll only do it once there's a critical mass of people on there, their friends are on there, that kind of thing. So I think that's going to take time, and I think it's really limited by the hardware as well. So the fact that not many people own an Oculus headset right now still is a big factor in the fact that VR has limitations. Whereas with AR, we already have 1 billion users of augmented reality capable phones in the world. Most people have a phone with a camera. If that's the case, then you can engage with digital fashion in augmented reality. And I think that's really powerful. The hardware has to be there for the software then to basically be adopted, right? So I think that's interesting. And then the follow-on from that is then, are we going to have AR glasses soon? That's really exciting.
Yeah,
are we all going to be walking around with AR spectacles on?
Yeah, well, the fact that Google glasses didn't really actually do that well, I think says it all. But potentially, in the next 10 years, somebody will come up with a more sophisticated version. Well, the fact that they also were not very fashion forward, I think said it all. I think it's interesting there how you have quite a strong stance on the metaverse just not being there yet, and the hardware elements specifically. I still get seasick when I'm exploring those metaverse worlds. It's just still very glitchy, essentially. I think another thing you touched upon there is the NFT element, NFT being an encryption method. I do meet a lot of startups that say, oh, we're building an NFT business. And I think you said it there, actually, the fact that NFT is only a method, or blockchain specifically. The underlying value still has to be there. And I think a lot of companies or new startups are still missing that value creation element and what it means in terms of value for digital fashion and so forth. I think there's a lot of exploration for the space to still do there. Obviously, we see, though, companies like Tommy Hilfiger, as I said in the introduction, still investing quite heavily into various metaverse projects that they recently did in Metaverse Fashion Week. Do you think that's going to continue, or is it going to fizzle out slowly?
I'm unsure, to be honest. I'm unsure. I'm watching with keen interest. But I'm unsure. It depends on the appetite of the brands. I think almost most brands now have dipped their toe in some way into, the digital fashion metaverse space in whichever way or form it might be. And I think that's amazing. I think that's fantastic because it shows that there is a willingness and enthusiasm for this. But I think really it depends on the customers, and it depends what users and customers want. We're building OuttaWRLD because we know that users want to engage with digital fashion in a more intuitive and accessible way. The augmented reality is an optimal format for that. And empowering creation is really going to be a big thing here. Allowing anyone to create digital assets is really important. So we're going by what we know. We're not making, leaps of faith, so to speak. And I think that's a big thing. We're just listening to users and listening to people that are using our app, and we're building for them. With the metaverse and everything, it feels a little bit like the metaverse is being created, and then it's kind of like, let's invite some brands and see what they think and try and create an experience, and let's hope for the best, and let's see if people turn up, and maybe they'll buy something, maybe they won't, maybe they'll spend some time there, maybe they won't. I'm unsure, to be honest, is my answer. I think it's really interesting. I think one thing that is important to note for us at OuttaWRLD is that interoperability, is the crossover between AR and VR, and AR platforms with VR platforms, and exporting what you create in AR into a VR platform or game. And I think that's going to be super exciting, because that, again, enhances and increases the utility of the asset. Because you create something on OuttaWRLD, but then you might be able to use it on a game or something. And I think that's really great, because then we're increasing the utility for the user, for the customer. But I think that's difficult right now, because it's unclear which platform people want to use, and which platforms are going to emerge as sort of the leaders of the pack when it comes to the metaverse and platforms.
Yeah. So then, are you suggesting that interoperability is one of the key factors of democratizing digital fashion?
I think so. I think it's really important, because it increases the utility of the assets being created. And then it enhances co-creation as well, which is another huge aspect of the digital fashion space. Because then if someone is familiar or uses a particular platform, but they want to create or work on something or another project, then it can be a seamless cooperation or collaboration because of the interoperability. And I think that really will propel the space forward if it's possible.
Yeah, and then I guess once we reach that stage, we're going to see, thousands of digital fashion designers, is the assumption.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We hope so. We hope so.
Maybe. Well, on that note, how do people get to experience OuttaWRLD?
So OuttaWRLD, the latest build, is now live on the iOS store, so you can download it. Just type in OuttaWRLD, OuttaWRLD. The Android version is coming very, very soon, so that will be uploaded. And we're continuing to build. We're continuing to improve everything. This is only the beginning. So yeah, download it, check it out, see what you think, let us know your feedback, get involved in the community. And yeah, I can't wait to meet you, listener.
Thanks, Charles.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to click follow to keep up to date with the latest episodes. And if you like this episode, please give us a review. If you want us to feature a specific theme or guest, please give us a message at beyondform.io. I will see you very soon.